Hello, everyone. My name is Moshe Nave, and I'm from the SAP community team. Today, we have John Astill with us that is going to give us a fascinating SAP community call. The topic is emerging technologies to stimulate innovation. John is an innovation demo engineer. And John, please take it away.
Thanks, Moshe. So welcome, everybody. So I will talk about emerging technologies to stimulate innovation. This is my role at SAP. So I'll give you a background on myself. First, the agenda. We'll talk about me. Then really, what does innovation mean to you? Innovation is a word that's used in almost every conversation now. But what does it mean to you? Then we'll walk through how we try and work through innovation, how we create stories, and how we try and then get ideas when we're trying to innovate. And then my favorite thing, which is the power of physical models, how we can use tangible objects as part of the interaction to try and stimulate innovation. So about me, I work for the North American Innovation Factory. I'm based in Newtown Square, Pennsylvania. I'm an innovation demo engineer. So that means I work with our customers and partners to look how we can essentially innovate, using that word again, innovate. And really, what does that mean? So what's my background? I started out working in telecommunications. So I have a BS in electrical engineering, which is why I like building lots of electronic products. I started out as an apprentice working in nuclear submarines. I moved from that onto the telecommunication systems. I started working in distributed energy management. So with the big energy companies, this is pre-internet days. So we were using modems and other networks to distribute energy readings and manage them locally. It's very, very much an Internet of Things type scenario right now, but that was in the late 1990s. We were actually building those systems. Packet data networks, this was in the early days of GSM. So we were looking at how we can use packet data networks in security systems. Typically alarm systems, security systems were hardwired. So if anybody wanted to disable the alarm, they would just cut the wiring. So this was a case of how do we provide a second or third path of communications to make sure alarm systems are still working. Then I moved to North America. So I got to work on satellite telephony systems, and that was really interesting stuff. I worked on time and frequency synchronization for base station management of satellites on the Thrai network, which is now live, or has been live for a long time in Asia Pacific. I then took the big jump of the .com and I moved into a startup company doing voice over IP with telephony systems. And of course, the .com went well for some people, not so well for others. The company I worked for was ahead of its time. Its IP was valuable. We essentially created something similar to Vonage long before Vonage existed. We were too early for the market, and that's when I started my 18 years at SAP. If you look at the slide, you can see on the right-hand side, that's actually one of the nuclear submarines, or the first nuclear submarine I worked on. What I've tried to do through the presentation is actually apply images of products or things I've worked on during this stage. So that, if you think of Internet of Things, again, one of the many innovation topics, nuclear submarine to me was the first thing that was connected. It predated the internet, of course, but it was connected to different telecom systems, and you had to connect all the systems together. It was a very, very cool introduction into control systems and how to do measurements, and also a very cool object to go work on. It's very interesting working on submarines. You can be fixing a control system while somebody's welding something together over your head at the same time. It's very exciting stuff. So moving forward, what does innovation mean to you? So the first thing I did was I put the Merriam-Webster dictionary definition of here. Innovation, what is it? The introduction of something new, a new idea, method, device, or novelty. So again, there's a picture in here. This was a smart city we created maybe 2 years ago right now. IoT sensors, automatic, essentially model train system. It was voice controlled using Amazon Alexa at the time, and there was also an auto-control bus system in there too. So everything had to interact together. That was tied into, what you can see behind it was an animated dashboard. So this gave you another feeling of a day in the life, how do I control? Because innovation isn't just about what I'm going to talk about in the next slide. It isn't just new technologies. It's how can I change things? So when we're thinking innovation, we may think, oh, machine learning is innovation. Well, it is. So there's Internet of Things or chatbots, but it's not always that. It doesn't always have to be looking at a brand new technology, because my role is I'm looking at new technologies, but often we find that existing technologies used in a different way can actually be innovation. And often that's the easiest path to innovation too. And that's where you start to see where are new business models coming in and how disruptive are they? What's the investment it's going to make to make that, to create that innovative step? So again, an image in the slide on the right-hand side. This is, if you've been to Sapphire at TechEd, you may have seen this. It's one of the connected buildings. Again, all voice controlled. We're collecting IoT data, lots and lots of sensors. It's a scenario to show you here how, with an automated or a building with sensors, how it helps you. How can you collect energy management? How can you control it automatically? How can you reduce costs? These are all sort of ideas we're looking at. And these are things that innovation means to us. Now, I stuck to new technologies when I was talking about that on innovations, but one of the coolest things that you obviously see is some of my favorite innovations I've seen are from school children. There was a fridge that a high school had created that could be used in Africa. It didn't require refrigeration. It just used natural products. An amazing thing. It wasn't using any of the new technologies. She essentially looked at what exists and how can I create something new. And when I was looking through simple things like that last week, I came across the Pouncer edible drone. Now this is from 2017, but it's the first time I'd heard of this. So this is a drone that can be used to deliver packages, but the drone itself is made up of edible parts. So it can actually, it's dual use. You send out the drone, it delivers a package, and you can eat it afterwards. So it's an amazing idea. Let's reuse what we have. So I'm going to move through now is walking through innovation. So my team, the North American Innovation Team, this is typically something we would do. We'll work and talk with our customers and partners. What's your problems? What's your business model? And where are you looking? At Sapphire, I get lots of questions. We need to innovate. How can we innovate? That's a very, very open question. Some of the question is, Internet of Things. I'm told we need to use Internet of Things. How can we use it? Without knowing the problem you're trying to solve, it's very difficult to come up with a solution that will help. So I'm going to walk through one that we created for the hydroelectric industry. So again, this is very, very simple. We were speaking with multiple hydro companies. They're looking at how they can improve their processes. Of course, they have HR processes, they have operations processes. It could be any stage we're looking at. So what we did is we created an interactive walkthrough of the goals and how things could change to help them. What we can use that they have that's existing in their systems and how we can best leverage that using SAP. So rather than just throwing up a bunch of PowerPoints, one of my colleagues, he creates some very good rich media steps that we can actually walk through. And we're going to walk through one of them now to help. So the picture on the right-hand side, and potentially some of the background noise you're hearing right now, is a model of a hydroelectric dam. So we don't just create a slide or something that's interactive, we try and make it tangible too. So on my left, I have something that's making a lot of noise moving around, but behind me, and it's probably going to be very difficult to see, is that small green thing in the background. That's actually a model of a hydroelectric dam that's running and pushing water through a system right now. It does have sensors and meters in there, so it's taking on flow rates, blockages, detecting all those things. So we tried to impart that into the story. So what I'll switch over to now is, let me bring this up. This is one of the interactive presentations we'll walk through. So we want to start, you want to actually make it visually appealing, make it look like the customer's problems they're trying to solve. If I showed up with an SAP PowerPoint with SAP logos or generic pictures in the background, it's one thing, we can talk, but if we can try and give the experience or immerse the customer in their own problems. So what we did create here is multiple steps. So we're looking at different problems we can solve. We'll focus mainly on the first one. This is why I have the connected down with me, which is supply chain and predictive analysis. So what we're looking at is, if something goes wrong, do I send a tech out? How do you detect it? What should we do? Well, there are many, many ways you can actually automate this and make your processes streamlined and more efficient. I will slightly cover the drone and some of the others as we go through, but I wanted to show here how this immersive look and feel is a very different means than simply a PowerPoint. So we take you and we want to talk about, let's talk about your problems, your mission. So we're talking the customer through their own mission statements here. So they want to provide reliable, affordable, and clean electricity. What is their goal? Of course, they want to increase customer satisfaction, improve responsiveness, reduce downtime, and improve profits. So the method we're looking at here as well, let's use predictive maintenance and IoT to try and help with that. So you can be guaranteed that almost every system right now has some type of automation, some type of control systems in there. This is what's been talked about for a few years now, the separation of operational technology from IT. How can you bring the two together? So what we're looking at now is the screen is, I'll put my number in here, this is actual flow from the water going behind me. So this is the flow through the pump. What I can do, this out of the way, is I can set a threshold. I can say I'm running around 128, so I want to set a threshold here around 110. I'm going to trigger now is a failure. So what we're simulating now with the hardware, and if you could see the physical model, what you'd see behind me is the flow would stop. So I'm going to bring this up and try and stop the flow here. So I just heard a click. You may not have heard the click, but the flow stopped running. So through the dam behind me, the flow stopped. But what I saw there was immediately I triggered something. It triggered in the system. It knew we have a problem. So let's trigger an automatic maintenance inspection. Not only does it trigger the automatic maintenance inspection, but we know what products failed. We know initially, let's get that to the technician now. Let's save some downtime. Rather than send the technician out there to look, to try and solve the problem without the equipment, send him out once with the equipment we need to fix it. Massive return on investment, massive save on downtime. So by using the contextual information you have, you're helping the customer here. So again, this presentation is showing us, so we have walking us through Ariba, we're creating the order. Where is this in Ariba? So walking through the steps it would take with SAP to help enable that. And now move on to the next stage here. So drone inspections. Again, let's look at this. How does a drone help here? This isn't just the hydro utilities industry you would see this. This also occurs in things like insurance. If I want to send a technician to inspect something, do I want to send them out ladders, climbing around? There are safety issues, time issues. So we're already seeing this. People are using drones for inspections. And the beauty is here, the drones, by using the drones cameras with machine learning, you can actually start making determinations from the drone itself. And again, you're looking ahead of time. You can actually start making potential predictive solutions to the problems. So again, let's try and use new technologies here to solve existing problems. Some customers are already doing this. Insurance companies, indeed, have already got their claims adjusters with very large drones certified, but others have not. So this is still something we're moving through. Do we have questions? So any questions so far? So I'm going to move on to the next section. So what I'll do now is, I spoke about the hydro, how we can walk through and how we can do integrated streaming. The data in the presentation really helps. So by giving you that interactive immersive experience through the presentation, you're getting a feel for how it happens. And I'm presenting, you're not sat here with me, I'm surrounded by lots of pieces of hardware. That would give you the full immersive experience. You see the water stop flowing, you're looking at the dam, you see these things break and fill. It gives you a feel, and you start getting better questions from the customer. They start to understand and are able to more easily put the problems in the context of their problems. So now to my favorite part of this, which is the power of physical models. I love building physical models, again, for that tangible aspect. It gives you the means of having something in your hand, whether it be the customer's product, your product, to use that to talk around the story. Again, I don't want to put a PowerPoint in front of you. I want you to talk about your products. So this was, we see a lot of what we do in my team is 3D printing. Now, it's not the best picture on the right of the things we've built, but this is a silo, it's cloud connected. So what we did here, we had customers talking to us, well, we need to measure grain in silos. We need to know how much is remaining. What options have we got? If anybody took the open SAP course on IoT, they would have seen something similar. A silo contains, it could be grain, it could be sugar, it could be a liquid. Measurement determinations that they use, or the equipment using for determining the measurements in that training course were proximity detectors. So at the top of and these were recycling containers, they're actually seeing how the depth of the material inside the silo or the container of any kind. And this is, again, I can walk up and I can bring this in hand and you can start playing around. Inside the box at the bottom, I'm not showing the electronics here, but not only did we use proximity sensors, but also tear sensors. So you can use proximity at the top and weight at the bottom. Once you start getting multiple readings, it's giving you multiple options. Just looking top down doesn't give you weight. if it was wet, it would be heavier. So by combining and bringing that data together inside the IoT system, you're getting a much greater insight and therefore better actions out of what you're seeing. So one of the cool things in my job is, of course, the first silo I built, I thought, well, why not leave it behind for the customer? So the device I used inside, if anyone really wants to get into this depth, is an 8266. It's Wi-Fi enabled device. So there are libraries out there, open source libraries that I use that you can configure to connect to any Wi-Fi. So it was a leave behind for the customer. Let you play with this. And we found that, and there's a scenario I'm not covering here around one of the physical demos, it really helps people internally talk about problems too when they have a tangible object. This is a silo. This one was requested many, many times. Another one we saw, which is probably 4 or 5 years old right now, we built a small model of the house. We connected it as if it were an automated home. Insurance companies had a great interest in that, as well as utility companies. They're looking again, how can they, from this model, come up with new ideas? We looked at it from the Americans insurance scenario here, which is the houses in the US, for those in the world, are built with drywall. So it's plaster, it's paper, and it's wood. And the biggest loss for insurers is flooding. So if a washing machine or anything leaks, if the house gets wet and you're not home, not only do you have to replace all the walls, if you get mold, you're almost entirely replacing the entire house. It becomes a very, very large claim. So these things are very simple to include. Let's put a water sensor in there around the washing machine. You're already seeing that in some of the newer washing machines, IoT enabled. Let's trigger this. Insurance companies, their touch point with their customers is usually only once or twice a year. They're seeing it from a perspective of renewals and claims. Well, for them, they're also looking at new business models too. They want to look at this from how can I interact more with my customers, provide value-added services. So looking into that, they also want to get connected to those devices. And we did see that happen with American Insurers and Nest. They actually created a partnership there, where if you sign up with American Insurers, you got a free Nest thermostat. Now that isn't measuring leaks, but that is measuring the efficiency of your thermostat. So think here, well, if my boiler isn't working very well, I'm seeing over time that the energy use is increasing, but the efficiency is decreasing. They can start selling service contracts. So they're looking at new business models. So again, going from something very simple like a small plastic model or a wooden model, it generated conversations on, well, how can I innovate around this? What makes sense? It makes the conversations a lot easier than using PowerPoints. I can show you the silo dashboard. This again was connected. The second derivative of this used, those interested, was Bluetooth through a Bluetooth router. And the third, I took a featherboard with the from Proton, and I put one of the IoT 365 SIMs from SAP in there. So it's connected now through 3G. So we have multiple versions of this silo running. So I'll jump across to my next PowerPoint. Sorry, PowerPoint, next web page. So you can see it's something very similar. I'm looking at the silos across North America. I can drill down. I don't have the silo running. I need to refresh the page. I don't have the silo running, so you won't see real-time data on this one. But it is bringing in historical data. So I can see which silos I was having issues with. Now, this isn't a problem. So here we're looking at, there is no real-time data. We're only seeing the last 3 readings. But here I would see it's at 14% fill. I want to make sure my silos and my supply chain is correct. So again, I'm not just using IoT and insights here from the data simply for problem solving or for maintenance. I can use it for supply chain too. So this would have triggered, or should have triggered here in the ideal scenario, and a rebar order to replenish the silo. Next is, I'm talking about physical or tangible devices. And I don't know if you can see it behind me. Well, this is the actual fridge. So this was something we built for National Retail Forum, which is the largest retail conference in the world, in conjunction with Samsung last year. They have what's called the Samsung Family Hub. Their fridge has essentially a large tablet built into the fridge. When you see it, you'll see it at the stores. We see it at Best Buy in the US. It's really fun to play with. It comes with built-in apps. So there is an app store, very much like it was a mobile phone. And there are cool things you can do. Instacart, you can leave notes. I wanted to take it a bit further because this fridge allows you to use your phone to remotely see what's inside. So you can see the contents. So imagine you're at the supermarket, you wanted to buy something, replenish your fridge. You could look inside the fridge. You're seeing what's at the front of the fridge. You can do your shopping cart from there, or you could manually interact with it and work with the shopping cart. But why not take this a bit further? So we got hold of one of these fridges. Inside the door are 3 cameras. And doors closed, there's 3 cameras. The display, so we can take that a bit further. So I'll take you through now is the application we built for the refrigerator. So something a little bit different. So this is the same application running in the fridge, but we're going to run it in the browser. I've put a wrap around it to make it look a bit cooler. So this is my family hub. Before I actually go a bit further, what Samsung deemed here, and I'm not sure if it's the same in the UK as it is in the US, but the center of the home and why they're pushing for this is not really, in my home in the UK, it was the TV. In the US, it's the kitchen. The family congregated in the kitchen. And that was the realization they've came to. So they can share. I have smart things, Samsung's automation, so all that I can control through the refrigerator. I can reflect my Samsung TV here. So they see the family hub as the center of the home, which is why they're going down this path. And it is a pretty cool concept. So we're going to go through now the application that we wrote for the refrigerator. It actually runs on the fridge behind me, if you can see it. So I'm going to replace my fridge. So using machine learning, we put something very simple in the fridge on the shelves. Machine learning object detection detect what's in the fridge. So I'm pulling in, okay, what's in the fridge, what's on the list, and giving me a product list. Well, because I know through the camera how long it's been in there, I know through IoT sensors in the fridge what else is happening, the temperature of the fridge, I can start making smart determinations. So I can see now that the milk that is expiring tomorrow, well, I only bought it yesterday, well, I can see why the fridge door was left open for 30 minutes. So I'll blame my kids, but that's probably me, left the fridge door open again. So the reduced bulk shelf life would I like to order. So again, I can do this directly through. Now this could go through an SAP system. It could be a vendor, third-party vendor, or one of the Instacarts or other systems that we have in there now. So when coming back, it's detecting 2. So it's finding the items that are in the refrigerator. If I go a step forward, we added something else to this. So do I want to experiment with new flavors? So I got 2 boys. One will eat anything. So we were eating some different sushi stuff last night. One eats hot dogs and mac and cheese. He doesn't like experimenting at all. So we partnered with a company called Vivanda, which is a spin-off of McCormick, the spice company. They have this thing that's called the flavor print. The flavor print, they've broken down everything you eat into flavors and feelings, whether it's crunchy, salty, bitter, chocolatey. So everything we're interacting with the fridge, again, through that object detection, we can tell Vivanda what we're working with, and it knows the ingredients in it. So it can actually build a flavor profile for the ingredients in the fridge. So here we're putting together, you can see the main ingredients or the main flavors we're working with here. So salty, chocolatey, and bitter. That's not me, I'm not a fan of chocolate. So someone's been pulling the chocolate in and out of the fridge. Again, you can tell using the camera when things are in and out of the fridge, which was a really cool concept. So what we've got here is Vivanda are giving me a suggestion. Based on your flavor print, would you like to try the specific cream cheese? And they can add it to my cart. Well, sure, why not? Now, equally, you could use the same flavor print to say, well, we know you don't like a certain sort of food, so they wouldn't suggest that too. So also built in here is because we're pulling in health data. Imagine Fitbit. I use my Apple Watch all the time for this, and Strava. I'm going to pull in my family targets. I'm looking at this from healthy selections. So calorie, sugar intake. Of course, I'd love to increase my calories. I like eating, but if I'm trying to lose weight, which is probably what I should be doing, I'm to reduce calories, sugar, and probably salt too. Now, based on this, again, we're looking at the system. This was hitting out in the demo to an S file system to pull in product categories. So we're pulling in based on the changes I want to make. It's giving me suggestions. So you can see I don't particularly like peanut butter, but my family's eating it, so it's offering me a different type. But it is telling me I should try 2% milk. So it's giving me better suggestions on food I should be trying. Another option here, because we pulled all that information in, it knows that I'm trying to lose weight. It knows what I like from my Vivanda flavor print. So would I like to try the organic salsa? So yes, let's add that to the cart too. So we've added this to the cart. We've already added the milk because it was expiring. And we're finished. So this is showing how we could interact with the fridge, a refrigerator with the cameras built in. But it went a little bit further than that. One of the other roles I have is I'm a judge for a competition called Technical Student Association. It's an international competition, and last summer in Atlanta, I had the pleasure of judging the software engineering teams there. These are high school students from around the world. And they actually came up with, this is an idea that some young girls came up with. We looked at this from a case of, let's replenish your finished, but they came along with the idea of wastage. You're buying things and not eating them. Why would you continue buying them? Which is a really cool idea. So again, by using the concept, you've got cameras, whether it be in the refrigerator, or new use cases here that we discovered after talking at Sapphire is it could be a pantry or larder. Food isn't just kept in the refrigerator, it's kept in many places. So by having the cameras inside, whether it be the refrigerator or where your food is stored, it gives you the option now of reducing wastage, making you more environmentally friendly in many ways, saving you money, and also allowing you to experiment with new food that you may not have tried already. So this is one of the cooler demos that I worked on. I'm going to jump to one that we did for NRF this year in New York. It was one of my colleagues that worked on this. It was a really cool, unfortunately the picture on the right doesn't show it so well. It was a very, very cool interaction around a makeover. When retailers, and if there's someone buying lipstick or makeup, consumers like to try it on. When I go shopping with my wife to buy, it's usually Christmas or a birthday gift, and she's trying lipstick, she puts it on her hand, she looks at her hand, see if the color matches. Well, the color on her hand isn't the same as the color of her lips. So she's not getting a true feel for that at that point. So you may have seen some other existing apps out there like this, where they allow you, and there's many on the iPhone, to actually try makeup on, or for those with hair, try different color hair, to see how they look before they actually move down that path. So what we did here was we built again something similar. And you're only seeing part of what we have here because this is the interaction through the camera. Hopefully you can see what we have. I need to bring the partner up right now. This was, with the demo, this was built into a shelf. So we had lipsticks on the shelf. You would pick lipstick off the shelf. And as you pick that lipstick up, it would interact with the system and apply lipstick to you. So you can see now this is probably the most striking lipstick I've worn this week. And if anyone saw one of my bios, I was on a Glysister in a pantomime, which is an English play, so it's not the first time I've been seen wearing lipstick either. But so the beauty behind this is the consumer's allowed to try whether it be eye makeup, lipstick, on without actually putting it on them. So there's this, of course, the concern about hygiene. With that, some will use, I found recently, some use cotton swabs to do this, but they can try multiple on, and they're getting feedback. Now, as you'll see in one of our demos as we move forward, this camera can do many, many things. It's great to give the consumer a new experience, give the consumer an easier way to try things, to experience your products. But as they're picking up the products, we're measuring how long was that lipstick off the shelf. Now, how long did they hold it? What are their emotions? You can use cameras, and we'll see this in the next demo, is using the camera to detect emotions and the demographics of the consumer too. This is all really, really powerful information for the retailer because they want to give the consumer the best experience they can, but they also want to collect or gain as much insights into their products so they can not only position the right products for the consumer, but also not create products that really there's no demand for. So this is what was giving us. So we have as part of the showcase, and you may see it. We showed it multiple SAP marketing events. You may see this. There's a Twitter wall on there too, so you'll see interactions through Twitter. There's also I like the dashboard as well, so you can actually see all the interactions. And it's a really, once set up, it's a really cool demo. A second part of that demo that I'm hoping is going to work right now. So sorry everybody, I'm going to take the lipstick off. The second part of the demo we'll see is we added augmented reality to the demo. Share my passcodes just yet. See if this is still working. Okay, so I'll try and bring my screen in. So you're seeing through my iPad right now. So another consumer experience is this would not necessarily be their iPod, potentially an iPhone. Using the app you have for your customers, a loyalty type application, I can actually hold it over a product. And yep, there we go. So I'm actually immediately getting interactions with the product. I'm not having to scan barcodes. I'm not taking products off the shelf. Now, this concept you use around object detection, we used in multiple applications we've built. This, again, is around the retail. I guess I'm not moving enough in this room. This one is around the makeup or the perfume type of market. So you can see I could actually start tweeting around this product too, so I can post tweets. So it gives the consumer another way of interacting. We use that same concept with object identification for other scenarios. I have with me a bottle of Jack Daniels, but I couldn't get the app installed in time. We work with, it could be any type of retailer. Rather than have them scan again QR codes, barcodes, just using the object identification, they can quickly move. I'll just kind of give you the concept here. by quickly scanning across with the iPad, it's giving him immediate information. So there are two ways we looked at that. One from the store themselves, it gives them the ability to inventory checks, check their stock, but also from the salesperson. So if you were selling a wine or a beer or liquor or pet food to that retailer, you can actually hold it over the products, and it's going to bring in, well, what offers do I have now? What would I recommend putting together? I have a cheese and wine. What can I recommend together for my retailer, for my customers, the retailers, so they can better position the products to be sold? So it gives many insights, and it gets us away from let's lift something up, scan a QR code, scan a barcode. It's just a very quick and easy interaction. Any questions yet? Good. So go back to the slides. Covered both of those. Now this is the noise that you may be hearing, cool or creepy. This is another thing that I built, and it was probably one of the more fun things I built because I'd never actually built anything like this. And this is in the tweet I sent out to promote this event. This is Tommy the Owl. So Tommy is actually an animatronics owl. I'll turn the volume up right now. So the idea here was just something cool to put on a marketing area to bring people over. I'll try and turn the camera around. Hopefully you can see this. So that's Tommy. So Tommy's actually tracking me and also interacting with me. So as I move around, he follows me. His eyes are following me, he's tracking me, and he'll talk to me too. But what he's really doing, and if I show the screen down here, it's kind of hard to see, he's tracking faces, he's tracking emotions. And he also knows where you're looking on a shelf. So if this is part of the shelf, you can see I've kind of put some pet food around in here. What he's doing here is, I think I've got him set every 40 seconds to talk. If he sees somebody, is...
Treat your small pet to a treat that is delicious and stimulates activity with all living things crunchy rounds. Made with ingredients you can feel good about serving, including real fruit. These treats also stimulate foraging. Only at PetSmart.
So you can see there, this is a simple way of, or actually an interesting way of interacting with the consumer. So this was, if you imagine, let me turn the volume down on Tommy again right now. Imagine here you've got, this is a pop-up store. It could be in a mall. We talked to some of our customers around. This could be in a store too. It's chatbot enabled, so you can ask questions. So if this was on a, let's say a holiday type thing with new products, you can start asking questions about the products. And the animatronics, it doesn't have to be an owl with no feathers. It could actually be anything. This could be any type of logo that you have, or a dragon, a bear, anything it might be that represents your company, interacting with the consumers. That's bringing them in. Give them something active to talk to. They don't need help from an assistant. They can talk to it. Help them with the products. Using and this is using its inference at the edge from a technology perspective. So this is streaming to, there's a Raspberry Pi and an Intel Neural Stick behind this. So it's doing all the inference at the edge on emotions, gender, and where you're looking. So you can detect exactly where you're looking. So from a retailer perspective, they're getting information on what you're looking at, whether you like it, what demographics it's fitting, tie that in with the questions that are being asked. That's, again, really powerful information for retailers to use in their, as part of their collecting information on their products and how their stores are operating. This is definitely one very fun one to build, and I'm more than willing to share lots and lots of how I built it on SCN at some point, if there's requests that way. But yeah, it was one of my more fun projects. Slides. Yeah, so it collects demographic data, understands product interactions. Very important for the retailer. So now, not everything is about physical demos. What have I shown? So I've shown lipstick, I've shown an owl, I've shown hydroelectric dam. There are other things we use too. I'm hoping this works. So beyond physical, we use AR, VR too. So VR is very popular on training. My team built a driving simulation 2 years ago using the Vive, Oculus Vive. It was very well received, and it was tied into SAP gamifications through SAP Cloud Platform. It was pulling in data around driving habits. So you're immersed in the 3D world, you have a steering wheel, you're driving, and it was using a 10-ton truck. So imagine you're learning to drive a 10-ton truck, it handled like a 10-ton truck. So it's measuring all that data. While collecting the data, it's got in a gamification system, and then it's mapped to your HR system too. So imagine this doesn't have to be a 10-ton truck driver, it could be a school bus driver, it could be a postal driver, but Certifications. How are they driving? Are they remembering road signs? Are they still capable? Maybe they're losing their skills. All that can be collected and tied to HR records. Similarly, it could be if you wanted to navigate or learn to navigate a new area. So the same driving skills, you can pull in maps, and these are widely available now, pull in maps of areas that'll give you that 3D city to drive around, learn to navigate. So let's imagine you're moving from the UK to Germany. So you started driving on the, get these right around, you've gone from driving on the left in the UK to driving on the right in Germany. In training before you go, learn how to navigate around Frankfurt. Lots of things that can save you downtime, return on investment. So I'm going to try, see if this one is up and alive right now. Unfortunately, I was having network issues earlier. Let's see if we can get this going. Yeah, it looks like I'm still having network issues with it now, unfortunately. Yeah, so unfortunately I can't show that one. It's not able to connect to the network. Go back to the. So what we had here was, if I could show you it, and I'll try and get a recording of it. It was an HR onboarding experience. So the device I had on my head is, I'll put it on so you can see it. This is the HoloLens from Microsoft. It's a mixed reality device, so I can see ahead of me as well as overlay information. So my favorite analogy here is one of the early James Bond movies, where the villain actually sees James Bond with his gun and license to kill all comes up. I think that was from the 60s. So you can see these ideas come from a long, long time ago and start manifesting themselves now. But the same idea here. I'm a new hire, I'm in training, and it's overlaying information in front of me. So it allows me to navigate through. I can see pictures of my new coworkers. From their profiles, I can see what interests they have that they like to share. So maybe I like mountain biking and I want to join a mountain biking group inside the company. It gives me a very different onboarding experience than going through a website and clicking on. It's fully interactive too. So this would, Jim, I can't show it, but this is another one of those using new technologies. How can emerging technologies be used to stimulate new ideas? We have, I don't have it with me. We also have Magic Leap, which is one of the newer devices. So one of my colleagues looked into that from the perspective of how can we use that in manufacturing? How can we improve manufacturing processes? So many manufacturing scenarios are still manual. So you'll have the bench, people picking and packing as they move along, and they're having to scan and check. So it's a manual process, scan, check, scan, check. Well, if the mixed reality device can actually point you to the bins you need to collect from in the order to assemble, it's creating a lot more efficiencies. So we're seeing how these new techs can actually stimulate new ideas. And now the most important thing, while I've left it to the very, very last here, is tangible items. It doesn't always have to be emerging technology. You don't need a $5,000 HoloLens or a $3,000 piece of equipment to be emerging technology or to look at innovation from a new perspective. It goes back to that very, very first definition. So I have on here some of the items I've used in previous demos, so pet food, Anki robots, a simple tray. How can customers reuse how they use trays? We have the silo, a truck we use for maintenance, and then there was another box we use for warehouse management. So we built multiple demos very simply without having to use new emerging tech. But by using tangible items and placemats, it gives a very simple way of telling the story, the end user story. Bring them in, talk to the end user, how do they go through the day, move the products around, move the boxes, move the piece of paper around, then start thinking about innovation. So sometimes the first steps may be something simple. It may be just, well, we can reuse what we've got. We can start innovating. And that goes back to this point here. We can start innovating using the items we have. We don't necessarily have to start using emerging tech, but it gives you a step in the right direction. Let's start looking at how we can change our business processes, how we can move forward with what we have, and then looking at the return on investment of adding new technology. Now, in some cases, they already have IoT. So you're looking at a plant may have IoT enabled, but some may not. So that investment of getting, whether it's RFID readers, full-on management systems or PLC systems they don't have is an investment up front. But that first step of let's see what processes you have, how we can improve them and move in that direction doesn't always necessarily need to include these new technologies. And that's me finished. Moshe, anything?
No, I think we're good. Let's open the line for questions. So if you have any questions for John, you can raise your hand or type it in the chat or in the Q&A tab, whatever you prefer. So let's give people a minute or two to raise questions. Great. Okay, so I guess we don't have questions. So John, I would like to thank you for this presentation. It was fascinating. The recording will be available in the SAP Community Calls webpage. And so thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you.